So there are many theories towards play, and we're gonna go deeper after this. But in general, there are three main subtracts of occupation. The first one is play is as an activity having certain characteristics. The second one is as a developmental phenomenon towards the child itself. And the third one is as an experience or state of mind of someone. So play, like any other activity, takes place within context, which denotes the individual environments and their personal, physical, and social elements of each environment. Many play theories describe play as categories of activities in which the children engage. These include activities such as games, building and construction, social play, pretend play, sensory motor, and symbolic or dramatic play. The most unique thing about play is because their activity change over time and reflect their development as they grow older. In Project Theory of Child Development, the very first stage of a play is the sensory motor or exploratory play. This kind of play begins at birth and usually lasts through 1 to 2 years old only. So during this period, you will notice the children start to put everything into their mouth because they are learning about the world through their senses because they want to interact with their surroundings. So you may see them like they touch anything, they lick, they also bang and even throw the toys away. So the next one is constructive play. Constructive play predominates during preschool years and remain high during middle childhood, adolescence, but become more abstract. It may also develop into arts and craft because constructive play is much more bigger. Use their thinking like the cause it has cause and effect. It learns about identify, organize, and sort things. The next kind of play is the symbolic play or pretend play. It develops at the end first year, peaking around 5 years of age, and may evolve into dramatic and social dramatic play. So during this kind of age, they may learn and absorb many information through the screen time like television or handphones because during this time below after 5 years age they have started to develop their EQ emotional intelligence as well as recall emotion. So the upper level is the social play. So children use role play to learn more about social system and cultural norms. There are four types of roles seen in each group play. The first one is functional role, such as pretending to be someone's occupation like a doctor or teacher. The next one is relational role, which means maybe you can take two friends or two siblings that will play like one become father, one become mother. The next one is the character role, which they imitate and learn anything such as what they saw from television and movies. And the last one is role with no specific identity. By time grow up, social play combined with motor play and develops into rough and tumble play. You will see that the children start to play with each other at parks, playground, or even with their cousins. So there are two scholars. They are always involved in play theories. The first one is Rubin. So Rubin say play is characterized by the following traits. Some of them are it express intrinsic motivation, focus on me rather than end, non-instrumental, and shows freedom from externally imposed rule, and most importantly, reveals active engagement in the activity. Takata, on the other hand, show some principles of play. The first one, it involves sensory, neuromuscular, or mental processes and is a complex set of behaviors characterized by fun. It proceeds within its own time and space boundary and involved in repetition of experience, exploration, experimentation, and imitation. As we all know, children is like a sponge. They are so quick to learn everything. Okay, another way of looking at play is in relation to function or how play influences adaptation. Play functions include processes, experiences, and purposes. Modern or contemporary theories emphasize the value of play in contributing to the child's development. They include using play to achieve optimal arousal, to develop comprehension, and the cognitive skills. So what is arousal? Arousal refers to our ability to maintain an optimal performance level and how alert we are in order to sustain our attention and complete tasks as the environment requires. Now this is very important because a child needs to be in an alert but calm state to be ready to engage in the learning task. So how can we achieve the balance of the arousal? Alright. The first one is the child needs to learn self-regulation. To increase the optimal level, we can start by doing alerting activities such as running in the playground, parks, run on sand, or even jumping, going to the monkey bar, swing, or anything like that. So, if it becomes too high, the child might feel anxious, fear, panic, and choke. So that's why we have to tone down because again, balance is the key. So what are activities that we can do to tone down the optimal level? We can take the child going inside, rest in the couch, read a book, writing, or even breathing technique. Alright, so what is ego function? Ego function refers almost to the conscience of individual. In psychoanalytic theory by Freud, ego includes perception of the external world, self-awareness, problem-solving, control of mental functions, and adaptation to reality. Meanwhile, historically, play has been described as the way a child develops the skills necessary for life. Now, as we recap, we go back from previous slide, we do know that play also involves in gross motor skills like jumping, running, hopping, and so on. They need to use their motor, their joints, more than two joints to move and to explore. It also as a way of working off their surplus energy, which means excess energy that needs to be expended. And lastly, for recreation and relaxation. Social cultural explanations include the development of social abilities, role development, and play's contribution to the culture. Play meaning refers to the quality of the experience or to a person's state of mind. The attitude a person assumes during play is usually termed as playfulness. According to Barnett and Kleber, playfulness consists of five dimensions, which are physical spontaneity, cognitive spontaneity, social spontaneity, manifest joy, and also involves sense of humor. Now, Knox, in his qualitative study, characterized between playful children and non-playful children. As for playful children, they show more flexibility and spontaneous in their play and social interaction. They are also very curious, imaginative, creative, and filled with joy. Also has the ability to take charge of situations such as role play, an ability to will on and change the flow of play and total absorption of the play and environment itself. Now, for non-playful children, we can see that they have difficulty with transition or changes. They may even rigid, which means they don't know to play in different rules or different ways like other children are playing. They express negative or immature affect of speech, often withdraw either physically or emotionally from play sequences, do not have control over situation, and tend to prefer adults or younger children to play along. Okay, lastly, we're gonna see play in occupational therapy. Play has always been a part of the pediatric occupational therapies, although its importance has altered over the years. There are many scholars in OT that define play. For example, Adolf Meyer wrote of work, play, rest, and sleep as being the four rhythms that shape human organization. As for Flory, he believes that intrinsic motivation as being central to play. Intrinsic motivation means something that motivates the child from their inner self and he or she not doing it for certain things like present or praise. It means also mean do something for its inherent enjoyment or personal satisfaction, but not for outcomes such as prizes or trophy. Robinson said play is used for the children to learn rules and roles. Richmond also play as the vehicle for communication and growth of the child. Alessandrini referred to play as a serious undertaking, not to be confused with devotion or either use of time, which means play is not something silly activity, but a very purposeful one that will be result of mental and emotional experiences of the child itself. In the late 1960s, Mary Riley described play along a continuum that she called occupational behavior. Through play, children learn skills and develop interests that later affect choices and success in work and leisure. Play is the arena for the development of sensory integration, physical capabilities, cognitive and language skills, and interpersonal relationships. So in their play, children practice adult and cultural roles and learn to become a proactive members of society. We can see that through this hierarchy, she believed that play is the primary function of children. And then she described the drive has three hierarchical stages called exploration, competency, and achievement. Exploratory behavior is seen most in early childhood and is fueled by intrinsic motivation. Competency is fueled by effective motivation, a term defined by what as an inborn toward competence. And lastly, achievement is linked to goal expectancies and is fueled by a desire to achieve excellence. Before moving on to another two more scholars, we should know a bit about sensory integration in autism spectrum disorder, or we may also call it as SPD, sensory processing disorder. So what is it? Sensory integrated dysfunction is a disorder in which the sensory input is not integrated or organized appropriately in the brain and may produce varying degrees of problem in development, information processing, and behavior. Sensory inputs, which mean the five main senses: sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch. And we have another three, which means tactile, vestibular, and proprioceptive. So what causes it? It's still unknown, but probably the result of both genetic and environmental factors. So how dangerous are these disorders? Because you make the child like behave unjustly and abnormal through social cues. Some of the implications are the child may be under responsive or over responsive to sensory input, especially towards light and sound. Their activity level also may be either unusually high or unusually low. So you can see that the child is either too active or too quiet, like stay sit in the corner, unable to process things around them. But most common, we can see that they have problem in gross or fine motor coordination, or either one of them or even both. We also may result in speech or language delays in their academic, and as behaviorally speaking, the child may become impulsive, easily distractible, too active, and general lack of planning. Alright, now we have another two, which are Pierce and Knox. Pierce studied object play in infants. She described three types of object rules by children. One, object property rules, that is, the child's internal representation of the properties of objects. Second one is object action rules, the repertoire of actions on the object. And third, object effect rules, those factors affecting object choice and keeping play enjoyable. Next, Knox expanded the concept of playfulness to the study of play styles towards preschool children. Four dimensions of play style were identified using grounded theory method, which are preferences, attitudes, approach, and social reciprocity. Within this dimension, elements of style were determined. Preferences include setting, toys, types of play, roles, and playmate. Attitudes included mood, consistency, and humor. Approach included direction, focus, and spontaneity. And lastly, social reciprocity included social orientation, responsivity, and flexibility. The children were described in terms of their unique play style, and the elements of style were analyzed across the children. Knox also found that play style differed among all the children, and the way they approached play episodes were dependent on their play style. Alright, let's recap the power of play. First one is play is pleasurable, which means children must enjoy the activity or it is not considered as play. Second one, play is intrinsically motivated, which means children engage in play simply for their satisfaction the behavior is serving. No intrinsic motivated involved, like function or goal. Next one, play is process oriented, which means when the children play, the means are more important than the ends. Play also is freely chosen, which means it is spontaneous and voluntary. If a child is pressured, he or she will likely not to think the activity as play. Next one, play is actively engaged. Players must be physically and or mentally involved in the activity. And lastly, play is non-literal, which means it involved in make-believe, hashtag creativity.